You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, got in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Jan Ludis, and today we have a guest who we have had on the show in the past, but truthfully, I was just saying to him, it's been 2 years since our last discussion. But I'm telling you, he is truly the real deal, and anyone listening that knows our guest today will completely back that up. He's an incredible transformation coach focusing in the areas of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, as well as hypnosis just as much. And to see the impact, guys, that he brings to his clients, listeners, viewers, I'm telling you right now, the results are absolutely incredible, and we're going to dive into that so you see it firsthand. You can reach out to him and talk about it just as much. I'm happy to have him here and dive into some topics with you today. Everyone, I give you Mike Urso. Mike, welcome back to the show, man. Like I said, it's been a while, but I'm so grateful to have you here.
Yeah, good to be back, Billy. Thanks, man. I always enjoy our conversations. I know this is going to head into some really great topics, so let's see what happens.
Let's dive into it, right? Exactly. But with it being 2 years, man, like let's talk about how have things been. I know we got a mutual friend right now, Joe, and you're helping him out. You're providing a lot of mindsets and mental discussion groups for him and his team of speakers, for that matter, for all of us kind of elevate ourselves. Joe's doing incredible work, but you're bringing such a mastermind aspect to it. So that's something I know you're doing. But what's been going on, man, for 2 years? How have things been growing? What's been going on? I know you got your family and everything. How's life
Mhm.
been?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, family, that's a big part. Girls are in sports. So, my kids are 9 and 10, just, hectic all the time, but it's fantastic. I don't know, you played sports growing up. I played sports growing up. It's such an important and integral part. So I love being a participant fully in what they're doing and encouraging and seeing them kind of grow as individuals and in that team environment. So that's really cool to see. Outside of that, on the work side, yeah, really focusing on the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, people that are in my type of shoes, maybe a few steps behind where I was just a few years ago as I scaled and grown to where I'm at now. So a lot of, as you said, mental performance support to people who are diving into the business, figure maybe they were in a career and they're looking to make a change in some way. They're either bored or the market's changed or they have different interests. And so, as you mentioned, the speaking group, speaker scale, those guys, providing them with a lot of great information on how to overcome a lot of the roadblocks and mental challenges that we're facing when we're trying to push ourselves beyond our comfort zone. When it comes to speakers, most of these people, as you know, as yourself, are TED Talks. Speaking is not the problem. It's the how do I get myself out there? How do I get on more stages? How do I get paid more? Those types of things. So I'm working with a lot of people who may not have the business experience and all the let's say the mental challenges that come along with that, but they have all these great skills they want to map over and create a business with. And so those are the things that I've been really focused on, more of the solopreneur entrepreneur, because I've walked that path, and it's very easy for me to see those stones that I've uncovered or others that have mentored me along the way have provided me with insights, and so it's a way of passing it down. Clearly, we make a living out of doing this stuff, so that's great too. But it really allows me to fulfill purpose and create impact. Think about it in terms of a public speaker. They get on bigger stages. They can see more people that they were potentially afraid of doing outreach in the past, and now they land a gig, and now they're in front of 500 people. I've just, in a way, indirect way, had my reach and my impact
Yeah.
expand and grow that much more because I was able to help that person, kind of push them and nudge them across the line to get
Mm.
that task done they were struggling with, and provide them with the ability to put more impact out in the world. So that's cool, man. That's become kind of a passion that I didn't realize was how I expand my reach and my impact throughout the work I do.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And it's that concept for all of us where our journeys, the solopreneur, entrepreneur, I'm walking that path, you're walking that path. So many people are, but because we've hit the hurdles and we've hit the roadblocks in that process, we found our way around them. it's those parts of the journey that allow us to reach back down and help the next person up. And that's exactly what you're doing. So, it's incredible seeing, like, I'm still part of the speed group. I get to see all your posts. I get to, watch the replays of the discussions that you provide. And it's
Mhm.
such incredible work because I know the mindset of a speaker. I'm walking those shoes, doing outreach and everything.
Yeah.
So for you to provide clarity in that area for people changes everything. And those are the areas I wanted to touch on today. Just as much, I know, I reached out to you, I was like, hey, there's so much that you're providing people right now, whether it's areas of productivity, areas of allowing us to have a distraction-free workday, or
That's a big
setting
one.
up a better system, or mental clarity, creating a flow state even. I think these areas, if we expand it, it's not just a speaker focus. It's not even just an entrepreneur or solopreneur focus. This is everyone. How do we have a distraction-free workday, but a distraction-free day? We need to have our moments for our mind to be able to decompress. And yes, distractions come in handy with that. But everyone has goals. We're coaches. We help people with their goals achieve results just as much. But everyone has goals in some form. So all of the areas that we're going to touch on today for listeners and viewers are going to relate to you in some form. But in that, Mike, let's dive into it, man. You're bringing so much to people. Let's talk on productivity, because I think in the entrepreneur and the solopreneur aspect, for anyone with a goal, productivity is obviously the goal. We want to get stuff done. We want to get results for sure. But a lot of us, I think, when we set a goal, we don't realize, one, our limits, not just say limitations, but our limits, and be able to exert ourselves to get the productivity out there and get everything done. But also setting up a system, as you said, to make sure we're achieving it. And I think that you did a post the other day that really stuck out to me. And in it, it was mentioned multitasking. Because I think a lot of us really focus on, I can get all this stuff done. I can handle all this stuff. But in reality, you're kind of slowing yourself down from that
Mhm.
productivity. So
Yeah.
let's dive into it. So when I say
Well,
productivity, what comes to mind?
yeah, think about it like this. That's a great analogy you're using, which is like we get bogged down with all these different things, and we think that we're doing a lot at once, but really we're doing them all just moderately well. We're not exceptional at any one of them. I kind of look at it as like, you're in your Chrome browser or your Safari browser and you have all these tabs open. And when you have
Yep.
all those tabs open, it's taking up so much processing speed. And we all know this. When you cross things off your list of your task list, it's like you're closing out that tab in that browser, and you're now that processing speed can get reallocated to whatever else is open. And so being able to close those windows, I think, is a really important kind of framework to work from.
Mm.
I do think it's not so much about time management when it comes to productivity. I think it's mental energy and
Cool.
energy management is more. So
Mm.
if you replace time with energy, because people will find time to watch Netflix for 2, 3 hours a night and watch their favorite series or scroll on their phone on social media, and they'll
Mm.
say, I just don't have enough time to do this or do that or do the tasks I need to do. And they get overwhelmed because that list keeps carrying over into the next day. But in reality, it's an energy management thing. For me, when you're clear about what it is you want to do, and we'll talk about it, probably off of this, is eliminating distractions for
Yeah,
better focus.
for
Most people
sure.
don't have a focusing problem; they have a distraction problem,
Mm.
and their focus is suffering because of the distractions. Yeah, but when I think like people struggle with productivity, they think that they lack time and they lack discipline, but I don't necessarily think that's a problem. I think that when you're mentally clear and your energy is optimized, you have enough ability to focus, you have enough ability to knock things off the list. When you don't have so many tabs open and you can get down to that, these are the most important tasks, and just focus
Mm.
on that. A lot of good things happen, because once you do start making progress, once you do start closing tabs and knocking things off that list, confidence builds.
Yeah.
And if you have all those tabs open and you're just bouncing around between everything, nothing's getting closed out, no projects are getting finalized. You keep pushing I just pushed my webinar, that I'm doing a free webinar next masterclass next week. I pushed it back a week because I thought I wasn't ready. So we're all dealing with these things. And for me, it wasn't a time management. I had plenty of time to get all the pieces in place. It was the energy. And until I locked in my energy and really said, boom, map this all out, plan it all up, boom. And as I close that tab and now it's ready, it's there. I can now reallocate that time to something else. And so I think that's the big piece of it. Too many decisions drains your energy, right? There's a reason Steve Jobs wore a black turtleneck every day. There's a reason Mark Zuckerberg wears a white or black t-shirt every day. The more decisions you have to make mentally fatigue you, the harder it's going to be to execute if you're getting bogged
Yeah,
down with that.
for sure. I love how you brought that up because I agree with you. Focus is definitely, well, we know that focus is our energy. where we put our focus to is what we're going to direct our energy to. So if that's distractions, if that's the phone, whatever it is, if it is multiple tabs open in a computer for one, but also life, we are sending our focus out elsewhere. And it's funny, this morning I got home from the gym and, I'm just, planning this whole thing out, and something caught my eye on social media. And it was this message essentially saying, we all sit there and we value time so much, and time in the sense of, we look at time as the most valuable resource, which for sure is a resource. But if you really dive into it, the most valuable resource is our focus, because time is going to tick away one way or the other. But how we use our focus, how we use the mental energy, as you stated, is how we use our time so wisely. So if we go one step further for people listening right now, where are you focusing your life onto? But where are you focusing your time onto, for sure? One way or the other, we're in charge of where we point this. And that could create productivity. That could also create distraction and limit us, for sure, but it slows us down in so many areas. So when people come to you with all this stuff, how do you start the process of helping them? Do you kind of grab a piece of paper? Do you lay everything out for them? Like, what's the process for someone listening that can actually start to get a hold of their focus, but also
Mhm.
get a hold of their productivity?
Yeah. Well, you do have to start with kind of benchmark where you at now.
Mm,
And it always comes down to the goal. This is what you don't want. What do you want instead? If you were able to focus, how would you know you were staying focused, right? Give them some sort of criteria that is evidence that they're getting what they want, the focus they want. But I would
mm,
say where I start with people is letting them know, hey, right now you're trapped in this dopamine loop. This
mm,
dopamine loop of constant notifications, emails, doom scrolling through social media. That's the dopamine loop. Your brain is in this constant, you're training it to seek novelty as opposed to depth, right?
mm,
And so that's the algorithms, they're wired for that, to hold our attention in that way. And so if you don't create very strict guidelines for yourself, you don't give yourself a chance to focus. If you're doing all of your work from your cell phone, all your content planning, all that, but your cell phone's also your means of communication for every text message you're going to get, when you're checking your email. If all of that is in that one place, well, then you are at the mercy of all of those notifications and different novelties that are going to be popping up and grabbing your attention.
mm,
So what I think is important is using the things that technology has already been, embedded into it, which is, do not disturb mode is fantastic. And
mm,
also too, and this is just a simple thing in my relationship, my girlfriend and I over the last week had a bit of a disconnect and a little bit of a miscommunication. It caused a little bit of a tiff. And so what happened was 2 days later we were having a date night. I said, let's have this date night, but we're going to leave our phones in the kitchen and we're going to be over here for the next couple hours, whether we're watching a movie, sitting, having a conversation. Because typically we'd have our phones on us, something would pop into the movie. Oh, I want to look up that actor's name and all the movies he's been in. Oh, because I remember. And instead, we were engaging in conversation and not going to our phones. And I found myself having the phone across the room, wanting to reach for it, and like, nope, be here, be present. So we
right.
train ourselves to get stuck in this dopamine loop, and that's the biggest thing. When you know the neuroscience of what you're doing, you can change those patterns, interrupt them in some way. And for me, that was remove the thing that is distracting you. If you want to focus, which for me, the goal was be present with my girlfriend,
Mhm.
100% presence. And man, can I tell you, the depth at which we were able to connect was so deep because there was zero distractions. It was just me and her there having a conversation or watching a movie, fully immersed in it, cuddling. Amazing,
For
amazing.
sure.
The same thing can work with your work, right? If you can create these guidelines for yourself ahead of time. And I think that's the key, right? If I'm going to give a practical strategy here for people, pre-decide your distractions rule. Before you start, your work, take time and say, how am I going to avoid getting distracted? You have to know how you normally would get distracted. You have to become aware of it first, and then you have to plan for like a pre-ritual of like, how am I going to avoid the distraction? For some people, it's going to be, I'm going to turn off my notifications. I'm going to put it on do not disturb. I'm going to keep my phone over here and only work on my computer where I don't get any notifications and I don't have Instagram or other social media to scroll through. Really set up the parameters for yourself. I think that's really important. And that's going to remove the decision fatigue.
Mm.
And you're going to start programming your brain to go into more depth and not just seeking novelty because it wants novelty, but we need to train it for depth.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Even the example with the relationship and then connecting it to work for itself. It's funny how our human life has become, because so many people now, the phone is connected to us. It's our hand. It's connected at the hip. It's always there. So
hmm
it's always a distraction for sure. But you think about how many people miss out on life because they're so looking externally on Instagram or Facebook or scrolling, and like you're in the presence of the person you want to be with, or you're in the presence of your job, you're in the presence of what you want to be doing, but your mind, like we said earlier, your focus wants to go elsewhere because it's relaxing for sure. It's mentally relaxing to scroll through Instagram, but it's not allowing us to focus on being present, as you said, with the person we're with or on the task at hand. So, as this entire topic, creating a system, and I love it where, as you said, before you even start creating productivity, you have to create lanes, we'll say, and you have to be able to narrate yourself. All right, this is the distraction time. This is this, or you create kind of limits for yourself. I love that because I've never even thought of that to an example where think about how many of us set a goal for ourselves and we just, all right, I'm going to sit down for the next 3 hours. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And we go gung ho into it. And we don't even think about the precursors of what could happen in those 3 hours because we're only focused on the tasks, which some people can do incredibly well at. But if we create that lane where, hey, this is my distraction time, this is my limitation, or, you think about, I can remember back in college, one thing they always emphasized to us was having a little break, like give yourself study for 20 minutes, do something else for 10 minutes, study for a half hour, give yourself something for 10 minutes. And it allows your brain that time to decompress, but it bumps up the productivity.
Hmm.
So it's exactly what you're saying, but that's a system people have to start looking at with any task of the day, whether it is
Hmm.
relationship, whether it's, you do martial arts. I guarantee you're not on the mat with your phone, for you're present on that right there for that task at hand. And it allows
Hmm.
you to get the most out of it. And that's a factor in life right now where I think so many people are missing out on life because we're so focused elsewhere. Take it. Yeah, go for it.
Let me speak on that because I think one of the big things we talk about, like we're talking about productivity here, right?
Mhm.
When we want to be able to do more, and be able to produce more. Like let's go language wise right now.
Right.
Produce, right? Productivity. The word produce is in there. There's also consumption, which is what
Mhm.
most people are doing, producing and consuming, right? Production is more of like that creator, that owner.
Mhm.
When you're producing things, think about any type of manufacturers producing a product. They create the product, they sell the product, the consumer
Mhm.
buys it. They either spend money or time to consume something, right? You're going to be spending if you're a consumer. If
Mhm.
you're a producer, you're creating and you're going to be earning, right? The consumer pays the producer. So think of that just in terms of like, a coach or anybody who's a content creator. If you spend, and this happens to a lot of people I coach, they
Mhm.
spend so much time consuming social media and not creating. And what ends up happening is they're now having this whole comparison game about they're seeing so many things out there, and it's actually like watering down their own creativity. A lot of people are looking for inspiration, but really there's a lot of your unique voice can really come through if it's not muddied up with other stuff that's out there. And I think that that's really important for people to do. And spending, if you find yourself in this kind of constant state of consumption, because remember, if you're consuming, whether that's social media, books, whatever it may be, you are spending time and or money to do that. It's costing you in some way. It's important. I'm not saying don't consume, don't learn, don't grow your knowledge, don't create and learn skills, because
Mhm.
those things can map over really well for somebody. But I do think that people need to produce more and focus on the creative side. We also know that when we're creating and we're in that state of flow that you mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
you feel much more connected. You feel like things are just that, like there is no time. Time just kind of distorts itself in a lot of
Sure.
ways, and hours can go by. And if you're in that creative state and you're creating and writing or whatever it may be, for me, it's in jujitsu, time will go by because I'm in that flow state of creativity when I'm there training with somebody. Time goes by. I look up at the clock and an hour's gone by, and it felt like 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
so that's the incredible part when you're in that flow state. But you have to lock in the focus. Without that
Mhm.
focus, and you mentioned it, I kind of look at it as like guardrails on the highway. If you don't, what are the guardrails on the highway there for? They're so you don't veer off the road and find yourself in a ditch,
Right.
because once you get yourself in a ditch, and here's an interesting, I actually wrote this down.
Okay.
Every time you switch tasks, your brain takes approximately 23 minutes to fully refocus. So think
Interesting.
about that lag time of if I was to go off the road, and I didn't have guardrails up to keep me on the path I'm headed.
Mhm.
If I was to go off, it's going to take me a long time. The tow truck's got to show up. I got to, I check, make sure I'm okay. I got to drag the car out of the ditch. There's a lot of time before I can get back on that road and keep myself moving forward. So, we want to be able to do that. And so setting those guardrails up ahead of time, knowing what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept, how many times you're going to check your notifications throughout that hour. You're going to wait 90 minutes to do it. Setting those up productivity time or time block, I think is one of the smartest things someone can do.
Yeah, for sure. No, I completely echo that. That's perfect. And I'm glad you brought up the flow state because that was going to be where I wanted to ask you next and where we could
Yeah.
guide this because I completely agree with you with the creation state, the flow state aspect, whether it is martial arts, whether it is writing, whether it is reading, whether it is whatever people find they are called to do or connected to do, whatever it is. I love to emphasize to my clients and audiences, it's more of a spiritual aspect, but I love emphasizing like we were brought here to create. Where if we're creating the image of a creator, then we're meant to create in this life. So that's why people enter a flow state when they're in a state of creation. Because you're doing at your core what you're meant to do, whether that is helping people, whether that is athletes. You mentioned your daughter's there into sports. That's you with jujitsu. It's a flow state because you're doing everything that you want to do for sure, but you're at your most creativity level. So when we enter that, everything becomes effortless. And I love to say to my clients, it becomes effortless progress because you're enjoying it at that moment. You're
Hmm.
not worrying about the time. Like we sit there and I can remember back in grade school, all of us are just staring at the clock because we're so bored out of our minds. Like, when is this class going to be done? Right. And so it slows everything down when we're checking the clock. But when you have when gym or art class, an actual elective that you want to do for yourself, it could you wish it slowed down because
Hmm.
you're in such a great moment. But for people listening and viewing this right now, I emphasize to you guys find your creation, but then as Mike said, for productivity, to make sure you're getting the most out of yourself, the most out of that task, the most out of that goal, you got to set those guardrails because that's
Hmm.
going to allow you to enter that flow state. But the beauty of that is when it becomes a habit, you enter it much quicker. It's like a meditation. You can when you
Hmm.
start meditating, it's like it's trying to bring your focus back to this center, and it takes time for people to realize it and be able to practice that. But eventually, you get right to it every single time you sit down, and it doesn't have to take an hour. It doesn't have to take a half hour. It can just be 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Up, I'm there, and that's where masters come
Yep.
in the process of it. But no, I emphasize all that, Mike. I think that's phenomenal for me, but for listeners and viewers right now, carrying into that, we went over creating a system and productivity, the distraction aspect, mental clarity, flow state.
Hmm.
Let's find ways to boost people's focus because I know that's another area that you've really brought to people, and I feel you had a couple different posts this past week actually that really stuck out to me in the sense of boosting focus for sure, but also how you end the day. So I kind of want to bring two areas into that, but when we just went over focus and how important it is, and we kind of touched on areas for people to boost focus, but really let's emphasize that right now. So whether it is creation, whether it is someone sitting down or doing what they want to do, setting up the guardrails, say with the example we gave earlier, where you kind of want to prep yourself before you do a task. If we're in the task already, if we're already in the process of it, and we say someone does set the guardrails where for the next 2 hours they're going to be doing a task, and then uh, half hour in they're finding the distractions are kind of popping in, but they're laned in. How do we boost focus in that sense? How do we kind of allow ourselves? Do we have motivators? Do we have areas that really bring us back to a center point? Do we, much like I said with the example where we're checking the clock sometimes and it's going so slow? What do you feel is best for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, or people to just be able to align themselves once again? What brings them back to their center where they can really, all right, I'm here.
Great question. So we're thinking about like how do we maintain performance at a high level,
Mm,
essentially? And keep in mind, performance is dictated by your state, your mental and emotional state. Okay. Dependent upon the mental and emotional state you find yourself in, and that could be focused, that could also be overwhelmed and anxious, right?
true.
Um, so dependent upon the mental and emotional state you're in will dictate, what level of performance you have. Now, your state if we take that back even more, your state is dictated by a couple things. Your physiology, right? How are you breathing? What's your body like? What are you in your body? Are you out of your body? It's your internal dialogue. What are you thinking about? What are the thoughts that are running through your head? What's that internal chatter like? And it also is like where your focus is. Where's your attention? Is your attention on yourself? Is it on the task? Where is your attention? I think that's all different aspects of where we need to place um, the most attention on those different aspects so that we can be in the proper state so that that state can then dictate the performance we have. You talked about flow state. I think when we think about like flow and how flow happens, because that's how people get into that high performing state where they can push through, or as we said, even you don't even feel like you're pushing through, you just feel like it's effortless, the work you're doing, you're in this just creative mode of flow. I mean, just the word itself describes what it feels like, um, and this happens when challenge meets skill at the right level. So
Okay.
if the task that you've presented yourself is way above your skill grade, you're going to feel anxious, you're going to feel overwhelmed, you're going to feel like you may want to procrastinate or distract yourself in some way. On the flip side of that, if your skill and your abilities are really high and the challenge is super low, you're going to be bored, you're going to be apathetic, you're going to feel like, I'd rather be doing something else. You're not going to have It's not going to hold your attention. So when you have that right balance of challenge meeting skill right at the level, and I think in the literature, 4%, meaning if your challenge is 4% higher than your current skill, it's not overwhelmingly more challenging than what you're capable of, but
Mhm.
that little bit of challenge above your skill grade gets you to really focus in. Using the example of Stephen Kotler's done a lot of work with a lot of his books on this, The Rise of Superman, The Art of Impossible, Stealing Fire, some great books about flow state.
Mm.
And he's talking a lot about in those when we get to that skill challenge balance, that level of focus we have, because there is some sort of danger or there's some sort of threat. Think about snowboarders and extreme athletes who are doing these death defying jumps and flips through the air. They're not going for things that are way above their skill. They know they would smash into the ground and they would crash, and then you have to recover from that. Maybe you get injured. They're building that challenge just a little bit beyond their skill. They're pushing their threshold just a little bit. And I think that's what gets us to focus in. It's if we put too much on our plate, it's almost too overwhelming where we don't even want to look at it. We want to distract ourselves. We want to come back to it. But if we put just a little bit more on our plate than what we've been able to handle in the past, it gets us to focus in, and it's not too much for us to handle that we're overwhelmed, and it's not too little for us to feel kind of bored of it. And so that really gets you to focus in. I think when we get caught in, let's say, to your question, you're going for a good half an hour in your time block and you start to get distracted in some way. I think getting, again, remember, it's all about controlling your state,
Right.
is get into your body. For me, it's always move your body, getting up, going for a walk. I do pull-ups, push-ups, and squats every single day. I've been since January 1st, every day. I do 30 pull-ups a day, 50 push-ups a day, and 100 squats a day, no matter what.
Mm.
And so that's been something that I know can dial in my focus. When you get into your body and you're doing push-ups, your body feels that you can't do anything but be in your body. It's like jujitsu. There's a threat there. There's danger. You have to focus in.
Mm.
Going for a walk outside, same thing. People love going for a walk because it clears their mind. Why does it clear your mind? Well, because you get into this open, expansive area where there's just this ability to open up your peripheral vision. When you open up peripheral vision, your brain calms down, the internal chatter, you start to be able to focus in, you can go back to your work and you can approach it. So I think that's the key, is starting to move your body. And if you're not in a place where you can move your body, breathe.
Just
Breathe
gonna say
deeply. Yeah,
that.
count your breaths, do box breathing, do some sort of breath work that is going to allow you to tap back in and be there and quiet everything down and get you to focus back in. For me, that's the biggest part. Move the body, breathe deeply, set your goal for that session, get rid of those distractions, and then start that focus block and go.
Right. No, I love that. And I'm so glad that you brought up the physiology aspect, because that's such a key. And I think truthfully, even myself, that's something like my routine has always been wake up, go to the gym. I start my day active and then I go sit down and do what I have to do task wise. But it's such a key piece for us to remember, for viewers, listeners, myself, to really understand that your physiology can change in a matter of moments. Your focus,
Hmm.
your emotional level can change in a matter of moments, and we have control over that. You mentioned our focus point. We mentioned internal dialogue briefly. We mentioned physiology, whether it is deep breathing, whether it's getting up and just doing jumping jacks, whatever it is. If you're in your home at your desk or whatever, and you're feeling low or you're feeling your energy is low, but you don't have time to go for the 10 to 15-minute walk, it's crazy how much your brain, the energy running through your mind, changes when you get up and do something really quick, whether it is the squats or the push-ups or the pull-ups as Mike does for himself. But it's incredible how much we have control over our mental state, but our energy, and how much no one really understands that or
Hmm.
emphasizes that. We'll say it's
Yeah.
such a key to our being. So I'm really happy you brought that up, Mike. That's incredible. So right now we've gone over all these different areas and how people can become productive, how they can shift and boost their focus, how they can really, truthfully just get results. But you being at a point where you're really emphasizing to entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, what's something that pops up, whether with your clients or the speakers you get to speak to or whatever area someone's come to you with, what is a commonality? What's something that keeps popping up that you find everyone seems to be questioning or not necessarily struggling with, but an area that's like, hey, we have to address this. Let's adjust this. Let's adjust this. And you start to say, oh, that worked. Oh, that worked. You as a coach, what tends to be something that keeps popping up for you?
Oh boy. Well, I would say one of the big ones is actually where I start everybody with first
Okay.
is lack of clarity. I
Mm,
think people sometimes struggle with knowing exactly what it is they want,
mm,
why it's meaningful to them, and what it's going to do for them once they have it. And I think until you really understand those things, it's hard to focus and go down any type of path of productivity and creating something, whether that's the body you want by getting back into the gym and starting to get into an exercise routine. Um, if you're doing it for other people or external validation in some way, that is not going to be as motivational as some sort of intrinsic desires, meaning I'm doing it because I want to be a better father, and if I'm a better father I can provide more to my kids, and if I can provide more to my kids they'll be healthy, happy humans who are going to contribute to the world. When you can connect with that type of purpose at that level, that can really drive the motivation that people are looking for.
mm,
I think like clarity is really important because so many people will come to me and they'll tell me like what they're tired of. This is the problem I have. This is the issue. I just had a gentleman the other day. We did a call and he's a money manager. He presents to his investment group and he's like, I'm not getting the type of engagement that I want from this group. And they used to in the past, but now it's just like crickets whenever I present information. So he's questioning himself now and he's like, the numbers are all looking good, but I'm not getting that feedback and that validation from everybody anymore. And so he knew that that's what he didn't want. And so I said, great, let's get clear on what do you want to happen instead? What do you want this investment group to experience? Because we can't change other people, but you can indeed change yourself. And if you change your own behavior, that in turn will have to change other people's behavior indirectly because they can't respond to you the same way. You're giving them a different way of going about things and communicating with them. So we got very clear on what it is he wanted them to experience.
mm,
Then from the vision, you can create the strategy that works best for you. But until you're clear and you know what it is you want, what it's going to do for you, how you'll know when you'll have it, what are the, like we talked about criteria, what are the indicators that would tell me that I'm having the experience that I want? I need to define those because if I don't know, I won't know if I'm on the right path or not. How do I get feedback if I don't know if I'm on the right path? So
right.
you have to have indicators, right? We have KPIs in business. You're doing the same thing for your life in some way. What are your KPIs for life and the projects that you're going on? So yeah, it's a very kind of strategic type of approach to things. But that's the biggest thing I often see
Mm,
with people is just a lack of clarity. Once you get clear and people are very clear on what it is they want, oh my gosh, it's so much easier to focus in and start moving towards it because now you have a clear target
mm,
and you have key indicators letting you know you're making progress along the way. Everybody wants to grow. Everybody wants to experience progress. We feel good when we're progressing. We feel bad when we're stalling out or we're staying kind of stuck. And this is why, any sort of progress in the positive direction can get people from becoming stuck.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm very happy you brought that up because it's funny. What do you want was the title of our first video together that we
I
did
think
2
that's
years
right.
ago.
Yeah.
We emphasize this keep
Not much has
moving.
changed,
Right, but
honestly,
that's the beauty of that, though. It's
Yeah.
incredible because it
Simplistic.
shows how many of us still struggle with what we want and getting that mental clarity or gaining that mental clarity for that matter. And I love it too because if viewers or listeners right now come to this channel and maybe we have so many different guests on from all these different areas of productivity and growth, but we've had a lot of spiritual guests on and they're teachers and coaches and everything, whether it's talking about faith or it's talking about manifestation, all these areas. I get to talk to so many different people, and the beauty of everything you just said is such a foundational point to life itself. Where if we want to use the topic of manifestation, you have to get clear on what you actually want. And everything Mike just said for listeners and viewers right now, if you don't even have to look at it through the lens of manifestation, that's just life itself. You have to get clear on what you want, but then realizing that's what narrows your focus to be able to target it. And then your action steps start to appear. You're no longer looking at the entire playing field, you're looking at the goal. And now you're being able to take the steps necessary to be able to take action for the matter and get to the goal. You're no
Hmm.
longer, as Mike gave the example, whether it's someone is not getting the result from their team or investments or whoever they're speaking to, for the example you gave, they're looking at, oh, I'm not really getting this. I'm not getting this. I'm not getting this. I'm not getting this. And that's just telling yourself, oh, I'm stressed. I'm stressed. I'm stressed. But you're not looking at, all right, what am I doing differently to not get the result I want? And then bring it back to results. What can I change? Now you're focusing. What can I change? What action steps can I take to get the result I want? That's all clarity, but that's also taking the step back, much like Mike emphasized, before you even go into a task. Take a step back, see what goal you want, but create the lane. And when you create the lane, naturally your action steps start to fall into place as dominoes. At that point, you get to your
Hmm.
goal. So I completely emphasize that point, Mike. I love it. And I love so much how that connects to every single area of life. It's needed.
Yeah.
It's who it makes us up for whatever goals we have. It's incredible, Mike. I love that. But let me ask you a couple more questions, and we'll start to round this whole thing out because you've already provided
Hmm.
so much for us. I love a post you said the other day. I mentioned it earlier with how you end the day and how you finish the day. And all you said in a quick little post, simplified. You ask yourself three different questions to end the day, and it allows you your own mental clarity, but it
Hmm.
allows you a way to really look back, look, okay, all this stuff, everything like that, but it allows you a peaceful moment to end the day, go to bed, wake up, hit the day fresh just again. What are those three questions that you tend to ask yourself? And what is your nightly routine to make sure you're ending in a productive way for sure, but then you start the next day fresh, clean slate, let's go.
Love it. Yeah. The three questions are what went well today?
Mm,
So very simple. A lot of us, we're always focused on, oh, if it's okay, I'll break down each one of these just real
go for
quick.
it. Yeah.
A lot of us, we kind of look at what we didn't complete for the day, what's still on our list, how much time we ran out of. I still need to do this project. I still need to do this project. I never have enough time, etc. And so we discount all the accomplishments that we've had throughout the day. We focus on what we didn't complete, and it comes at the expense of all the stuff we actually did do. And but what that's doing is it's training your brain to focus on lack and what's
Mm,
what I don't have, right, versus what did I do. So that in there, this first question starts to train you to have more of a positivity bias and start focusing on what are the wins, what are the things I am doing properly, what went well today, and list those things out. Number two, after that, is what did I learn? What are some of the lessons that I took away from today? So there's always some sort of thing we can learn, even in the worst, if you had the worst day ever, there's still some sort of gold nugget that you can take from that. And that's the amazing part about it. It's funny. A lot of times our problems, they maintain and they continue to exist because we haven't extracted the juice from it yet.
mm,
And once we pull the lessons and we take what we can and we integrate that into our being, it's amazing that problem doesn't trigger us emotionally in the same way anymore because we've got the juice from it. Right. I mean, this is common. We see this all throughout our life. And then the third question is, what do I want to do better tomorrow?
mm,
Simple. And all these questions, it gets you to just reflect on what what went well today? What did I maybe not like? What was I not up to par with my standards today? And how can I take an extra step tomorrow to do that a little bit better than I did today? It's getting you to course correct in a lot of ways. Instead of, again, we already have this negativity bias in our brain. It's evolutionary, part of our mammalian and primal brains,
Mhm.
is we're looking for that thing that's, that's potentially dangerous to us and threatens our safety in some way. We do that, and but we live in a modern world where we're fairly safe. We live in an enclosed house with locks on our doors. We're not worried about wild animals sneaking up on us and killing us in the middle of the night. And so those threats, though, the brain hasn't evolved as fast as technology has, and
Yeah.
all these different devices and things that now are competing for this crazy amount of attention. It's still this old ancient brain. So
Mm.
this gets us out of that negativity bias that we generally find ourselves in, gets you to focus and notice. And all those three questions, none of them asked anything about what went wrong, what you didn't do. You already know all those things. You're going to automatically default to this. This gets your brain to shift to what went well, what did I learn, and what do I want to do better tomorrow? Not what did
Mm.
I do bad today? What do I want to do better tomorrow? You already know what you did not up to par. And so that's the whole idea. Is this more of a shifting your brain out of the negativity bias, which it defaults to a more positivity bias.
Mm. Oh, that's perfect. I love it. And this is the self reflection. I think for someone to have a moment, one, to ask themselves those three questions, but to do it right before you go to bed is to me, I have friends that come to me, not even just clients, but friends come to me. And I've one, I love the kid, but he asked me a couple weeks back, he goes, "Man, how do you sleep at night?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, no, like literally, how do you sleep? I don't like, and he's extremely successful. I give him the most credit in the world, but his focus is always going to the next thing. Going to the next thing. I was like, well, man, you gotta slow yourself down. Like it's sleeping, you have one moment and then it calms your mind. You're able to go. And he goes,
Hmm.
I can't do that because his phone's always going off. He's got emails popping up. He's
Hmm.
got many hats he wears, that's for sure. But
Yeah. No
just
boundaries. Yeah.
exact for that question to come up, I'm like, huh. I think it's become such a natural routine for me to have a present moment before my head hits the pillow and then you can knock out. But to have a present moment, much like you said, and really reflect on the day, but then reflect on where the next day is going, allows you to be in control of your moments, but to be in control of how the day starts. And I think
Hmm.
that's perfect. I love it. And it carries me into my next question. It's fine. The next question I have is we brought a ton of information for people. So we're giving people all these concepts that they can start to utilize, and we have had to utilize them in ourselves in our own way. But one question stuck out to me early, and I made a note of it to make sure I wanted to ask you. I thought it was really cool. You have grown so much over the years as a coach. Prior to being a coach, your own experiences, everything, and you've become very successful at it. You're helping people in such a great, whether it's speakers and you have that guide them where they can impact other people, but helping other individuals. Heck, you're incredible at jujitsu. You got your daughters, you got your girlfriend, everything like this. Great experiences in life. But what is the best piece of advice you have received in your own life? And why is it the best piece of advice you received? Kind of an
Ooh,
overarching concept to this entire talk we had.
wow. So there's so many. The thing that I think I come to my brain, I mean, I'm not going to filter it because this is where it's going,
Okay.
is more of a focus on identity versus outcomes.
Nice.
Okay. And that was the big shift. It was always, oh gosh, how do I have more money? How do I have the business I want? How do I create a business where I'm making, 10K, then 15K, then 20K a month, et cetera, and beyond? And then I realized, and I don't know if this was through my NLP training, maybe like 7 years ago or so. I think 2018 is when I went to my first NLP course. And I just remember them talking about, we were talking about the state of creation,
Mm,
and you have the be do have model, right? Like who you're being determines what you do. What you do will then determine what you have.
mm,
It's the same thing as the book Atomic Habits, which I know you've read, and several. I've read it several times. But the identity process outcomes model, the IPO model,
mm,
when you set goals for outcomes, it doesn't really change you as a person. It only really impacts your behavior. But when you focus on creating more identity or even process-based goals, meaning, so let's use the example of if I want to be a really fit, person, I want to lose weight. Um, if I set my goal to I want to lose 20 pounds, there are certain behaviors I have to do that. I have to go out and run, but my goal is still just I want to be 20 pounds lighter. That's great. But that doesn't necessarily change who I am. If I go and I say I want to be a fit person, and again, I want to create some sort of identity, right? An I am statement. I am a fit person, or I want to create a fit person. A fit person, what do they do? Well, a fit person, what are the actions they take? Well, they eat healthy. They are very conscious of what they're putting in their body. They value their sleep. They set a schedule and they know exactly how often they're going to work out, how long they're going to do it, what they're going to do on the days they're going to be working out. They plan. That's what a fit person does. Do you think that I'll lose that 20 pounds if I approach it from that identity goal side, right? Of course
Mhm.
I will.
Right.
And not only will I get there, but it'll be much more sustainable and it'll change who I am as a person.
For sure.
And that's the big piece here is if we just focus on the outcome, and for me, I was just focused on the outcome instead of, if I'm an entrepreneur, if I'm a coach,
Hmm.
what are the things coaches do? Like, let's talk about that. And then let me start taking those actions. And guess what? When I'm taking those actions every day of what a coach does,
Yep.
I am being a coach. I am in that state of creation,
Yeah.
right? And when I'm creating, I mean, days go by and I'm just like, I'm in flow. There's
Yeah.
no anxiety there. I'm being who I'm supposed to be. And guess
Right.
what? The clients come along, the money comes along with it, etc. It all happens. The outcomes happen because you're acting as the person that you want to be. And so
True.
that's kind of that's the big thing I've gone back to, and that's really been the cornerstone of me is like, focus on who do I need to be in
Yeah.
order to accomplish this outcome.
Yeah, I love that's talk about a great period to end the entire talk on because everything it connects to every single area we already built on. But I love that because I completely agree with you. Who do I have to be? And
Yeah.
regardless of whatever goals I have, if I'm not being the person I need to be to achieve that outcome, like you said with the fit, you gave the example of weight loss and everything. We're not gonna we could get there, but we're not gonna feel that we got there. We're not gonna
Yep.
be in it because we haven't changed our identity. We haven't changed who we are. Everything that we touched on today for listeners and viewers connects to that. But I love that, Mike. That's such a great end to this entire talk because if anyone takes any piece from this talk, I hope it starts with that one. Because to me, as
Hmm.
much as we ended with it, that's the beginning foundational point to any goal, any result we're seeking, whatever it is. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's perfect. As we round this entire thing out, last kind of questions I always ask everyone: where can they find you? If people want to know about Mike and your coaching, if people want to, heck, if they want to connect with you, Joe, for the speaker scale, whatever it is, where can people find more on you? Where they can follow you on social media, website, whatever it is? Where can they find you?
Well, most people, if they're on Instagram, at Coach Mike Urso, very easy to find. So if you're not on Instagram, my website is peakexperiencecoaching.com, Peak Experience Coaching. And you can connect with me through the website there. There's some things you can go through there, but really Instagram is the best place. That's where I put primarily most of my content. LinkedIn, of course, if you're a business professional as well, you'll find me there,
Mhm.
posting content as well. But those are the two main places.
Perfect. No, I love it, Mike. I love it. And for people listening right now, I said at the start of the show, you've seen it throughout the entire talk. Mike brings so much information, so much value to people to help them with their goals. Whether you are an entrepreneur, solopreneur, whether you're someone else that you have goals, Mike brings a transformational aspect. That's why I say he's a transformation coach. He is so incredible. The NLP touched on it a little bit towards the end. He has so many areas and skill sets he brings to help people grow their own skill sets and grow their own life. And so I'm telling you, reach out to Mike, go follow him on Instagram, follow him, reach out to him on LinkedIn, whatever it is, but he brings the results and he can help you achieve those results. So if you're looking to change your life, as much as I'm a coach, just as much, I'm telling you, I love talking with Mike because he brings so much to the table. And I love being able to, I pass him in the gym every so often. And I'm telling you, it lights my day up because he brings the energy, you know? So
Yeah.
I hope people get something out of this. Mike, I appreciate your time. I really do, man. It's been such a blast.
Yeah.
We have some time left. Is there any other areas you want to talk on today, or did we kind of hit everything?
Honestly, I'll just round it up with this. Because I wrote this down and I want to say this. Like, people try to change their habits, but I think real transformation happens when you change how you see yourself,
Mm,
right? When you change your self-image. And as I said, you start doing the things that you need to do when you believe that's who you are as a person.
yeah,
And I think as coaches, what our focus always is to help people realize that they're much more than what they think they are.
yeah,
And whatever you think you are, you're so much more than that.
true.
And I think that's really, um, a shift that's happened in my coaching was, really getting people to experience the stuff that's already in there. It's hard to put stuff in something or somebody that doesn't already exist. It's much easier to pull out the good stuff that's already within there. So helping them see what's really already inside themselves, and these experiences that they haven't focused in on because they've just been so inundated with so much noise and distractions and society wanting them to be a certain way, and I have to behave a certain way to be accepted into my friend group and work and etc. If you can get away from that and get people to realize there's already a lot of this really good stuff in there, and start highlighting and talking to them and asking them about experiences that are evidence of them being the person that they want to be, but they're just blocked in some way because they're focusing on the wrong things. That's our job, is to get people to redirect their focus on the positives, on the things that are already the gold nuggets within them. And when you can highlight that and you can get people to experience the power within them, that is empowerment. That's what empowerment is. I'm not giving anybody anything through coaching. All I'm doing is bringing out what's already in there and letting that shine through, and then, illuminate the path ahead for them.
Yeah.
But sometimes, people need support, and that's the thing, is like, I don't go about it on my own. I did that for a long time, and then I realized, wow, I have this one mind I'm trying to navigate this world with. Like, I need more perspective. I need an objective view. I need a coach. I need a therapist. I need somebody to help me
Yep.
see what I can't see.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's really important, especially men. I coach mostly men. Seek support, seek help. I was going through a tough time this past week, and as I said before,
Yep.
old Mike would have just buried it and tried to get through it and figured it out on his own. New Mike calls up his best friend and said, I'm going through something, can I talk to you and I vent to you about it? He didn't provide me with a ton of advice, but he was there to listen to me and provide me with somebody to have a shoulder to be able
Yep.
to listen to vent to. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much better I felt after that, and how that just cleared a lot of negative energy I was experiencing.
Sure.
So I encourage people, seek support. If you've been struggling for a long time, go find somebody that can help you, somebody who's been through it, maybe just a few steps ahead of you, like I said before.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. No, I love that point too, because a coach, I find it in my own sessions with people, and it's funny where, say someone comes to me or comes to you with the goal of they want to be more confident. I was like, well, you already are. It takes confidence to even just say that you want to be confident,
Mhm.
and but to be able to, we think in a world where we're always thinking externally. So we don't think that we have what we claim we want. When in reality, we have what we want because it's always been part of us to begin with. It's just
Yeah.
kind of uncovering it and kind of clearing the dust away, we'll say. And I had a client, not even a client, I just met with someone, came up to me in the gym one day. He wants to become a coach in his own right. He has no idea how to start. I go, yeah, let's meet. So I met him last night, had a great hour-long talk with him. And he never really sat down before him other than just that one moment he asked to do this. And he's going over his life and everything that he has been through and achieved. This guy has so much experience. I'll say that, in life. He's been in the military. He's been in numerous very successful positions in work, and then he found his way to yoga, and that opened a door to a spiritual area. And he's grown in that. He's been through some very tough times. I'll say that. And my early response was, man, like, good for you. It's like, what? I was like, he made some very tough decisions in the past that, led him down negative areas, we'll say. I said, no, good
Mm.
for you, man. One, because you're not there anymore. But two, you have all the experiences you would ever need to help everyone else that are in those areas. That's in you right now because you made those paths, you made those decisions, everything. So you have to, that confidence in him to be a coach is stemming from the fact that he asked to have the meeting, to showing him you have so much in you already to be the coach and to help these people that are still struggling with what you struggled with years ago, whatever time it
Mhm.
was. He goes, oh, I never thought of it that way. I'm like,
Beautiful reframe. Yeah.
right, that's it. It's like, we have everything we need. That's not just as a coach, that's for anyone listening right now. Whatever you want in life, know that you have it now. That's, as Mike said earlier, becoming, being the version of yourself, your identity, being the version, and then walking in that. And when we realize, that's my favorite part of being a coach. It really is, where sometimes I have clients that come in and they want the coaching, they want the direction, they want the action steps. Phenomenal. We'll take the steps together to make sure you are becoming the person you want to be and you're achieving the results you want to have. But then I have other clients that come to me and it's kind of like a therapy session. I'm just listening. and they're looking for someone to listen, much like you said, to have that support in place.
Hmm.
And I'll just sit there and they'll do 90% of the talking in the session, and I'll just throw out these quick little points to change their mind, to help them see a higher perspective. And
Hmm.
by the end of it, they feel that one, they've poured everything out, but two, they're at a much higher emotional level, energy, vantage point, because they now realize, like, wow, every time I said something, Bill was just pointing it back to me. He was just showing
Hmm.
me what's already there. I'm like, yeah, well, what if you're bringing so much to the table already? Let's just adjust the perspective and viewpoint. Now you get the launching pad again. That's the fun. That's the
Yeah.
fun of being
And
a coach.
ending your sessions on that powerful state, that empowered state with somebody, oh gosh, that's so much more memorable than the numerous people I've gone to. And this is not a poo-poo on therapy, but a lot of people go to therapy and then they tell me, I feel worse every time I go, or I left and I dug up all my problems and
Yeah,
this and that. And oh, they said, oh, time's up, right when I was in the middle of talking about something really emotional for me. And you just feel like you're not making any progress. Whereas coaching's a little bit of a different path. It's that future focused oriented, right? Where we're like, here's what's possible for you if
yeah,
you should choose to be act this way and
yeah.
do these things. We illuminate this is what's possible for you. And I think that's what people want is when you're feeling stuck, you want possibility. And I think most people aren't afraid of taking the steps to do it. Most people are afraid that they're just they don't deserve it, or maybe that it's not for them. And so, like, again, when you can tie in the worthiness and the a lot of the self-value, and again, that goes back to confidence, feeling good about yourself, illuminating, to your point with taking that guy and saying, yeah, but look at all the life experience you have and how that's going to be valuable for you to be able to help
Yeah.
people. Like that right there is like, oh wow, okay, yeah, there is a lot for me to draw upon.
Mm.
And so being able to highlight those key aspects, that's super critical. And leaving people on a high note when they
Right.
leave, that's the type of person that leaves that session, goes out into the world and does some really cool things.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That's the beauty. I love being a coach, but I love, as you said, having. I needed a coach in place. I needed a mentor in place to make sure I began to think this way for myself and to
mhm.
realize it to myself, to step into the identity as much you said for yourself, to have that friend to speak to have mentors in your own place to get you to the level you want to get to. Everyone needs the support system, as you said. Everyone needs a sounding board. Everyone needs someone to, hey, vent it out, but then realize everything you're venting out tends to have the answer that you need. And if we pull apart the um, usually when we're venting something out, it comes from a place of not frustration, but it comes from an emotional place. And when we are in an emotional state and we're speaking all this out, we're venting, we can't see the answers. But then to have that signboard out, whether it's a friend, as you said, whether it's who our coach, whoever it is, they can pull out the little nuances. Well, if we look at this, like you said, that's a phenomenal piece right there. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I did. And it's like it's just those aha moments. That's the most fun of being a coach. It's like you help people in the aha moments. We did nothing but listen. We just have
Mhm.
these intelligence, the study, the years, the experience in this area where we can pull it out quicker and show you, and then yes, provide support and action steps, whatever it is. But we're all moving forward in this life in whatever way for listeners and viewers right now. It's always great to have someone in your corner. And I'll come back to it as we close this thing out. Mike is an incredible person to have in your corner in whatever form, whether it is a business aspect and the solopreneur entrepreneur aspect, whether it's some other area. I think, Mike, you truly bring so much to people. And I want people to go check out your website, check out your Instagram, check out your social media, because there's so much value there. And I think that's the beauty of being a coach. You provide value to people, you provide value in life. That's what we're all looking for, you know?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Billy, man. These skills I built over the last, whatever, I mean, in fitness, 15 plus years, in mental performance, past 6, 7, they're not all for me, right? They're like, yeah, it soothes my soul to like get better at what I do and see people get, benefits from what I do. But it's for what good are these skills if I'm not using them for good to make people better, make the world better,
Yep.
make people happier, be able to go achieve more. There's enough crap in the world. If you, again, if you go on Instagram, you go on Twitter, you go on any of these things, you're going to see all the craziness that's happening and the disconnect and the division that's happening. We need to be uniting. We need to be bringing people together. We need to be illuminating people's, greater aspects within themselves so that they can go out into the world and, perform better, be better husbands, better business owners, better leaders, better speakers, better children, whatever it may be. It starts with you, right?
Yep.
It starts with yourself, and then create the best version of yourself, and then, have that impact everything else around you. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I love it, Mike. I don't think we could end this on a better point than that. I
Yes,
appreciate the
sir.
time, though, Mike. I've kept you for an hour. I definitely want to have you on here again. I think you and I can go on so many different areas and bring so much value to people. So I would love to have you on here.
I'll be back. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, like I said, all of Mike's links are going to be in the YouTube description. You can go check them out. You can go right to his website from there. You can go find his Instagram. They're going to be in the credits. They're about to roll in this video right here, right now for you. Go check them out, like I said. If you're in need of a coach who can help in the areas discussed today, like I said, you got Mike's, you got mine, you got two people that are ready to be in your corner and want to be in your corner. Go check it out and think about setting up a call. Let's talk about those goals. Let's talk about results and let's get you there. Thank you for tuning in. Please like this message on YouTube and hit that thumbs up on below and share it to someone who you feel needs to hear it. Doesn't have to be to get them to work with a coach, but if any area that we discussed today, someone popped to your mind, whether it's productivity, whether it's focus, mental clarity, whether it's identity aspects, if someone popped in your mind, it's a clear-cut sign to share this to them because they need it. Lend a hand to help them. It's the only reason we have this channel. I say it every single week is to help people, and that number is going up every single week, which means we are achieving that goal of helping people. Play a role, lend a hand and help someone else out for your own right. You're going to feel phenomenal by doing it. Not to share Mike, not to share me, but to help someone. That's why we're here. And please subscribe to Once a Week if you have not already. It's been a blast helping everyone for as long as we have, and there is no end in sight. So guys, go check out our websites. If you need a coach, we're right there for you. But lastly, Mike, it's always a blast, man. I thank you so much for being here.
Well, until next time, my man. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a good one, guys.
I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it turnpike miles. Yeah, it's Buku signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things, don't even have a deal. Yeah, I battle through these bars, yeah, I always bunk a hill. I know that any city I go in, that I be flyer than Logan, and I be flying high. I want this shit pumping here all the way to Shanghai. And my name's not Joe, but I'm not your average guy. I be killing